him.
I want to watch the news.
Are you making headway at least?
This is the news.
Smack-a-macabre, it's time for the only news that matters. And Jimmy K, my buddy from Canada, he has a show, The Metal Voice, that I've been on a few times. And he had me on some trivia shows against his audience who were cheating and using Google, and I still kicked their ass. But anyway, Jimmy sat down and spoke with Night Rangers guitarist Brad Gillis and Quiet Ride's bassist Rudy Sarzo at this year's M3 Rock Festival. Both artists spoke to the Metal Voice about their time with Ozzy, performing and recording the live album Speak of the Devil. When asked to Brad Gillis of the Ozzy Speak of the Devil album, how it has stood the test of time and despite being put together so quickly, Brad Gillis said, "We kind of took it to the next level and maybe overplayed. The timing was right. The sound was good. I ended up having this stereo set up with a slight delay on my guitar. I cranked my amp up to freaking 10, man. The speakers were singing. I still sign those records all the time. I love that people still enjoy that record. It was a time in my life that I'll never forget. We had to get it together because it was live. You realize when you do a live show with a band, you're rehearsing before you record the live show for release. So these songs were new to us to play live, and we got it together. Ozzy never showed up on rehearsals. He was never even there. So we got it together. We just kind of overplayed it because there was no rules back then." And when asked if he mapped out his solos on Speak of the Devil, Brad Gillis said, "No, I'm off the cuff on that stuff. Tony Iommi was a great player, and the stuff he came up with was so innovative back then. He started heavy metal pretty much, but I would definitely stick to some of the classic things he did. But like I said, then I'd go nuts, and Rudy Sarzo would go nuts. And we kind of turned into a kind of a live jam band thing at a few points on the Speak of the Devil album. Max Norman did pick the best out of the sound checks and the 2 live shows for the record, but the mix was huge and my guitar tone was huge. It was the time in our life that everything was just do what you want and just do it well. Now, when asked about the legacy of Ozzy's Speak of the Devil album that Rudy Sarzo played on, Rudy said, "This is before Pro Tools, and it actually was live, When you hear at least the band playing, I don't know what happened as far as the vocals go." Yeah, I know what happened. He redid it in the studio. "I gave notice that I was leaving Ozzy immediately after I recorded that. It was authentic, which you really don't hear that much in modern music these days, where there's no click track, there's no triggers, there's no overdubs, there's no AI. It's just 4 guys on stage playing, that's it. There was a race between Ozzy and Black Sabbath to release the record one before the other. These are the songs that were given to play, and it was my job to do the best job I could do within the time frame that we had to learn these songs." So Speak of the Devil, when released in England, it was called Talk of the Devil, and in the UK it was the second of 4 Osbourne albums to attain silver certification, which is 60,000 units sold by the British industry, achieving this in January of 1983. Speak of the Devil was released 1 month before Black Sabbath released their Live Evil, a situation which contributed to a growing rivalry between the 2 camps. In the US, sales of Speak of the Devil were much better than those of Live Evil, while in the UK, it was Live Evil which attained the higher chart placing, and figures of ultimate sales are not widely available. Well, there you go. Yes, I remember it was a kind of a fight between Speak of the Devil and Live Evil. I always thought Speak of the Devil was the better album, and I love Live Evil, but man, years later when I heard that live at Hammersmith, I was like, why didn't they release this? I thought that album was much better performance-wise, and you know, Live Evil, the audience mix was so low. I'm not complaining about the album because I love Live Evil. The only thing I really don't like on it is the songs that Dio sang that were Ozzy songs. I didn't like War Pigs. NIB was okay. Paranoid was terrible. But my favorite was Black Sabbath. That I think he did great because he did it so menacing and evil. And I loved it. But, no, man, Ozzy, you just can't replace Ozzy and Sabbath. You know, Dio is technically 100 times better than Ozzy. As a vocalist, the guy can't be touched, really. I mean, he's up there. My favorite metal singers, Ronnie James Dio, Rob Halford, and Eric Adams, and Jeff Tate, early Jeff Tate. Those are my favorite singers, but Ozzy has the attitude, the swagger, that makes me like him more in Black Sabbath than any singer that was in Black Sabbath, you know? And man, Speak of the Devil, yes, I've heard the actual live audio of it, and Ozzy sounds like ass. And he goes in the studio and he sings it so good, it sounds so awesome, that makes that album so killer. That's why I don't care about 100% live albums. Too many people have sticks up their ass about, oh, it was touched up in the studio, it's not really live. Who gives a rat's ass? Oh, that's right, you do. I don't. What I want an album that sounds awesome. I can give a rat's ass if it was live or done in the studio. As long as it's awesome, that's all I care about. To me, the greatest live album ever is Judas Priest Unleashed in the East. And Rob Halford was sick when he did that album. He actually went and recorded his vocals again, which I understand how Rob Halford did his vocals for Unleashed in the East. He did it all in one take, like he was playing a show, you know, to nobody in the studio. And listen to Unleashed in the East, and you tell me that's not a badass album, man. Which I think all the studio tracks are pale in comparison to the Unleashed in the East version. Though I do miss Tyrant. When it says Tyrant in the song Tyrant. But anyway, going back to Speak of the Devil, how amazing is it that these guys learned those songs in such a short time frame? Brad Gillis is a freaking monster. What an amazing guitar player. And listen to Rudy Sarzo on that album. My God, he's all over the fretboard. He does his thing and, you know, pays homage to Geezer. But, man, it's Rudy Sarzo through and through. And isn't it weird, man? Rudy Sarzo, man, how odd is it that Rudy Sarzo is on the album cover Quiet Riot 2, though he didn't play on the album. He's in the inner sleeve of Diary of a Madman, though he didn't play on the album. He's on the album cover of Metal Health. He didn't play on the song Bang Your Head and Don't Want to Let You Go. He played on the rest of the album. He didn't play on the Whitesnake self-title. He did that tour. You know, Rudy Sarzo is a monster bass player whose most successful albums that he was associated with, he didn't play on. But he played on Speak of the Devil, and holy crap, did he play on that album. And Rudy Sarzo is a hero to me. Number one, he's Cuban like I am. Number two, he was raised in Hialeah, Florida, where I was raised. And number three, he's Rudy freaking Sarzo. And I'm Dr. freaking Fuck. Anyway, love the album. Play it still all the time. It's got this killer vibe to it, whether it's live or not. And you can hear Brad Gillis even said, you know, some of it's sound check, some of it's live. I mean, this Max Norman guy's a freaking genius. How he mixed all that together and got Ozzy in the studio to kick some ass and come out with this amazing, which I feel is really the last amazing live album in my opinion. You know, I know there's some cool live albums that came out after, but none of them touch Speak of the Devil. And yeah, some of you may leave a comment, well, how about Live After Death? Live After Death, these nuts. I'm not a fan of that album because of Bruce Dickinson's voice, but I love the album cover. But anyway, that's how I feel. What do you all feel about Speak of the Devil and Live After Death? I know you're going to have to say, I love Live After Death, like I give a fuck. I'm just kidding. Maybe. But, you know, I do want to know your opinions on Live After Death and how amazing it, just that short amount of time, you know, they did it. And what do you feel about Live Evil versus Live in Hammersmith? Do you think Live Evil's better? Because I really do think that Hammersmith show is better, man. Performance-wise, I just thought it was better. But anyway, thank you all for watching The Only News That Matters on Black Sabbath Sunday. And please subscribe to my channel if you haven't and ring that little notification bell and like the video because it's good for the YouTube algorithms. So stay frosty, listen to Black Sabbath, and smack 'em a gob.
Farewell and adieu to you fair Spanish ladies. Farewell and adieu, you ladies of Spain. For we've received orders for to sail back to Boston. And so never more shall we see you again.